Whether it's a song jam-packed full of crazy conspiracy theories, or a song that is so offensive that 72,000 people signed a petition to get you canceled, the music industry can be a very fickle place. Even the release of one song can severely damage your image, your brand, and your entire career. Best case scenario, when you release a song, you want it to blow up and you want everyone to love it. But today, we are going to be looking into the worst case, when a song blows up, but not for the right reasons. So let's check it out. So I wanted to make a video kind of like my artists who ruined their careers with one album video, but believe it or not, it's kind of hard to find artists who straight up destroyed their entire career with one song. Usually it's a handful of other factors that the song played into, but for the first two guys, the songs they released played a prominent role in the ending of their careers. And the last guy, I know you guys probably see him and you might be upset, but I promise if you just hear me out, you'll understand what I mean. So let's continue. B.O.B was an artist who was making hits in the early 2010s, but after a conspiracy theory-ridden track, he lost much of his fan base. B.O.B, or Bobby Ray Simmons Jr., who I'm going to be calling Bob throughout this video, grew up in Decatur, a few miles outside of Atlanta. He had a passion for music and learned to play the trumpet in elementary school. As Bob got older, he continued to play the trumpet as well as learn other instruments in his high school band, and he also focused on hip-hop in his spare time. In 2002, he met his mentor and co-manager B. Rich, who helped him sell his first beat at 14 years old. Within months, Bob dropped out of high school in 9th grade and began to pursue music full-time. In this time, he wrote and recorded songs that eventually appeared on his 24-track debut mixtape Cloud9 in 2006. He started performing at open mics in underground venues where B. Rich even had to sneak him in because he was still a minor. One of these times was when he was snuck into T.I.'s nightclub and performed his unreleased song Cloud9. Luckily, manager T.J. Chapman was in the crowd and offered to co-manage B.O.B, which soon led to his signing with Jim Johnson's Rebel Rock at just 17 years old. From 2007 to 2009, Bob released 4 mixtapes and 2 EPs, which gave him enough attention to get his first big feature on T.I.'s album Paper Trail, on the song On Top of the World. Around this time, B.O.B was also signed by T.I.'s label, Grand Hustle Records, an imprint under Atlantic. With all of this hype, Bobby made the 2009 XXL freshman class list, which also featured people like Asher Roth, Wale, Kid Cudi, and more. Also, fun fact, this was technically somewhat the first year that they had a cypher because all the boys freestyled in a vlog. I did a whole video on that and I just thought it was neat, so I figured I'd share it with you guys. But because of this, in the summer of 2009, Bob joined Kid Cudi and Asher Roth for the Greatest Hangover tour. Soon after, Bob created a mixtape titled May 25th to help promote his first studio album, The Adventures of Bobby Ray, which was planned to be released on that date. The mixtape, alongside the hit song Nothing on You with Bruno Mars, did so well that Bob moved the release date up and dropped the album early. His debut album, B.O.B Presents The Adventures of Bobby Ray, and the single Nothing on You both hit #1. The album sold 84,000 copies in the first week, and by the end of the year became double platinum. This success resulted in Bob getting to open for Eminem and Jay-Z on the Home and Home tour. Later on, 5 other songs from Bob charted in 2010, including his hit song Airplanes. Also in that year, he was nominated at the BET, Teen Choice, and MTV Video Music Awards. And we also can't forget that around this time, he caught a little diss from Tyler, the Creator, on the song Yonkers. And you may or may not know that Bob responded with No Future, where he takes aim at Tyler and the rest of Odd Future. Anyways, following his rapid success, Bob spoke on his struggles with his newfound fame and adjusting to people knowing him only by his tracks. In efforts to chase the heights that Nothing on You reached, Bob and his label collaborated with big names including Lil Wayne, Nicki Minaj, and even Taylor Swift. After multiple pop songs and attempts at a hit, a frustrated B.O.B who felt he was being suppressed by Atlantic decided to go his own direction.
So what's up with all the blog rumors, Julie, like about Atlantic holding Bob down?
Yo. That's about as hostage as we hold our artists right here.
Because of this, he decided to create his own label, No Genre, from which he self-released his own music. He released a few mixtapes under this label that would later become a compilation album called Elements. First, he released Water, then came Fire, then Earth, and lastly, the closing mixtape in the compilation, Air. And these all have acronyms, but I don't feel like reading them, and they're not really important. I guess he'd been watching Avatar: The Last Airbender because it was a little bit dorky, let's be honest. In my opinion though, the mixtapes weren't half bad. They had some pretty cool beats and some nice production. But throughout these 4 mixtapes, B.O.B decided to express his political and philosophical views, which were fastly labeled controversial because of their anti-establishment nature. And it was on the Earth mixtape that the single Flatline resided. See, around this time, B.O.B started talking about conspiracy theories on interviews and social media, most notably on Twitter. He discussed many theories including the moon landing being fake, the Earth being flat, mass cloning of celebrities, and more. This brought the attention of the famous astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, who commented on B.O.B's recent public comments. Neil's comments led to a beef of sorts, which pushed both Bob and Neil deGrasse Tyson to release diss tracks. You heard me right, Neil deGrasse Tyson dropped a diss track on Bob. Kinda, he didn't really rap it all though. So Bob's diss track was Flatline. And within this diss track, he accuses Neil of getting paid off by the government to cover up the truths of the world, especially that it is flat. He also mentions believing that his phone is tapped, the existence of lizard people, government cloning, secret societies, anti-Semitic theories like Holocaust denial and Jews running the world, and a few others. Basically a lineup of your popular run-of-the-mill conspiracy theories. Bob said, "Globalists see me as a threat. Free thinking got a world at my neck. Ha! Am I paranoid? Picture Malcolm X in a room full of pigs, trying not to bust a sweat." I mean, Bob had to have been off something, because this was a huge departure from the type of stuff he was normally talking about. He also played a few Neil deGrasse Tyson sound bites to do with the shape of the Earth. So, our boy Neil clapped back with the song Flat to Fact, which he made with the help of his nephew, and is pretty much just poking holes in a bunch of the theories, mainly the flat earth one. The song was actually just his nephew Elect rapping the whole time, but Neil did pitch in by recording the audio of the tweets that he sent to Bob for the track.
Flat earth, get out of here. I don't need to have that conversation, but since you came at my uncle and you're gonna be spitting all this stuff, I might as well respond on his behalf. And I didn't think it was gonna get the attention it got. I recorded it in one shot in my living room. Like it's not, I didn't even go to the studio or nothing, so.
To be fair though, the song also threw some disses at Bob directly, and with the virality of the moment, many people were saying that Bob got cooked and took an L from an astrophysicist, which is just hilarious. And it wasn't just Neil making fun of Bob for Flatline, it was most of the internet. There was even a bunch of articles breaking down and debunking all of his lyrics. B.O.B also got flack from the Anti-Defamation League, who said, "It appears as if the song has been recently removed from the internet. If so, that to acknowledging a mistake here. But it is not nearly enough. We hope that B.O.B will find a way to communicate clearly to his fans that Holocaust denial is unacceptable, and that he will apologize for invoking the age-old conspiracy theory about Jewish control of the government." So yeah, this song really damaged his career. He even said himself that it was like throwing his career in a blender.
And when I was talking about it, it wasn't really the thing to do, you know what I'm saying? Like, you really like could throw your career in the blender with that type of information, you know what I'm saying?
Due to all of the attention and controversy directed towards Bob, he launched a Kickstarter campaign called Show Bob the Curve, with the goal of launching satellites into space to prove his flat earth theory correct, but the fundraiser somehow never hit its $1 million goal, and most people agreed that this was just a straight up scam. There was also a lot of other backlash that he faced from releasing this song.
Some people were mad at me, like people at radio stations was like going on air, like cussing me out. I was trying to go on tour in that same year, and certain venues were like, "Well, I don't know about him performing here. Like he's been making statements about the earth being flat." And I'm like, what the fuck does that have to do with me doing a show? Like the outrage was incredible.
Nowadays, Bob says that he doesn't regret speaking his thoughts, but he did say that he wishes he went about it differently. His next project following Elements was an album titled Ether. It received overall positive reviews from critics, but it didn't do nearly as well commercially. In recent years, Bob has started a podcast with his sisters and other guests called The Bobcast, as well as other things like vlogs. Bob is still making music though, and he seems to have a decent fan base, as his last big single, How to Make Clones in 2022, performed fairly well. But it seems like a lot of his fans may not be, all together there. Since that last big single, most of his songs haven't been doing too well numbers-wise. Ever since Flatline released in 2016, he hasn't had a song or album even chart. B.O.B himself even said he doesn't regret making the comments, but he regrets how he handled the backlash. So whether or not you think it was entirely this song that destroyed his career, it definitely played a part in it. If you're like me and you hate spending a ton of time cooking your food just to eat it in under a minute, but you still want to get some good nutritional quality, then Factor is the perfect brand for you. Rather than eating out every day, a box of yummy food food comes straight to you. You can choose from over 30 different chef-prepared meals that will be shipped directly to you. They're never frozen, and they're made with premium ingredients. As you can see on the website, there's tons of meals and they look great. I just had the green chili chicken the other day and I absolutely loved it. You can also choose from a variety of add-ons to make your meal a little bit more interesting. There's also a bunch of meal options like Protein Plus, Vegan and Veggie, Chef's Choice, Keto, and Calorie Smart. Personally, I try to eat relatively good and stay in shape, but I'm also extremely lazy when it comes to cooking, so that's why Factor is the perfect brand. They sent me a giant box with tons of goodies, and I have been enjoying these meals all week, and I also got some smoothies that are really good. Overall, it's just great for my nutritional needs. So if you want to get some grub, head over to factor75.com or click the link below and use code MattyB50 to get 50% off of your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders. That's code MattyB50 at factor75.com to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month of orders. I genuinely enjoy the food, so make sure to check it out. Now let's get back to the video. Billy Squier is an artist who, in the most literal sense, had his career ruined by one song, more specifically the music video, and it wasn't even his fault. William Squier was born in 1950 and was interested in music ever since he was a kid. Over time, he joined and left a few bands with little to no traction. At 20 years old, he encountered his first true promise in music when his band Piper received a record deal, and with this created 2 studio albums. Billy's band Piper was managed by the same management as Kiss, which led to his first major performance, opening for them at a sold-out Madison Square Garden show. As the main songwriter as well as the frontman for the group, Billy and the band received a lot of praise from critics. Despite their success though, the band split after a few years, leaving Billy to venture off on his own. The venture worked out well though, as in 1979, Billy struck a deal with Capitol Records. This deal allowed him to produce his solo debut album, The Tale of the Tape, that charted for weeks and contained his song, The Big Beat, which is currently one of the most sampled songs of all time, being used by big names including Run DMC, Alicia Keys, Jay-Z, and more. Following these early successes, Squier was able to get into contact with Queen's guitarist who set him up with their own producer that agreed to work with Billy. This team up allowed Billy to create his second and strongest album, Don't Say So, which contained 3 massively popular singles that ended up being his breakthrough hits. Songs like The Stroke, In the Dark, My Kind of Lover, and Lonely as the Night all added to what is known as Billy's most commercially successful album. The album sold over 4 million copies in the US alone and lasted on the charts for well over 2 whole years. Billy's next and third album, Emotions in Motion, was strong, with 3 million copies plus sold, as well as featuring his first #1 on the rock chart with Everybody Wants You, which held that spot for 6 weeks. In 1983, Billy began working on his 4th album, Signs of Life, in order to continue what was shaping up to be an unstoppable career. It was in 1984 when the album was released, and Billy was experiencing the highest heights his career had yet seen. Featuring popular songs All Night Long and the criminal song Rock Me Tonight, the album performed very well, bringing Billy his 3rd consecutive platinum certification. Critics and fans alike loved the album as they had with the previous projects. So how did Billy go from being on top of the world to failing? How did his song Rock Me Tonight become so successful, yet at the same time ruin his career? Well, the answer lies in the music video. It was soon after his tour kicked off that MTV released Billy Squier's music video for the hit song Rock Me Tonight. Regardless of the song already being very popular and well received, the video changed the narrative entirely. And while there were plenty of other artists at the top of the game who performed and did music videos of their own at the time that were objectively more flashy than Billy's, no one got quite the negative reaction that Billy received, even with many fans sticking up for him through the hate. The video featured Billy getting ready for a show, flaunting and dancing around all whimsical like, in a multicolored pastel bedroom with a pink outfit, pink satin sheets, and a pink guitar to match. A lot of people were saying he looked like he was a teenage girl. It was in the 80s and videos were all pretty flashy, but after watching it and seeing how bad the choreography was, I can see why people hated it. Someone even commented, I remember seeing this video for the first time back in the 80s and shaking my head in disbelief. Although you could argue that this wasn't Billy's fault. You see, Billy first wanted the director of Michael Jackson's Beat It, and the director was interested, but he declined because of a low budget coming out of Capitol Records, who at the time wasn't very interested in music videos. Then they tried another director, but that also didn't work out. So Billy's girlfriend recommended that he have Kenny Ortega direct the video. But Kenny Ortega was a choreographer, not a director. He said that he made the mistake of leaving everything to Kenny, which didn't work out too well for him. Billy said, "My attitude was, he's the director, let him get on the job." Now, Kenny was and is gay, which is fine of course, but he put a gay man's perspective on my original idea. It was the wrong approach for me and everyone who should have known better. my label, and my management told me that I had nothing to worry about and that the video wouldn't do me any harm. Well, they got that totally wrong and then hung me out to dry. You could argue that I was there at the shoot, that I should have known what was going on and that I should have stopped it, but I thought the director knew best. For a little context, Kenny Ortega's most popular work is on directing the High School Musical movies, and when talking about his goals on Rock Me Tonight, Ortega said that he wanted it to play out similarly to the Tom Cruise scene in Risky Business. On the other hand, Squier wanted his video to be grainy and dark, and was worried when he arrived on set to the pink satin sheets that it wouldn't end up like that. But Ortega insisted it will turn out how Billy was hoping, and clearly it did not. Billy's manager took his concerns to the label and insisted the video be scrapped, but Capitol Records decided to put it out anyway. Billy Squier was mid-tour when this video dropped, and even his girlfriend said that it was going to ruin his career. But again, the label tried to hush him and say it's fine, as the song was already massively popular and too big to fail. In an interview by Rob Tannenbaum, which I probably said wrong, and Craig Marks in I Want My MTV, the uncensored story of the music video revolution, Billy is even quoted saying, "From a career standpoint, I never really recovered from that video." He also said, "My female fans stayed, but males deserted in droves. Was this due to homophobia? I believe it must be. Did it finish my career? That's a very extreme statement to make, but it obviously knocked me off course. Before that, I was riding a rocket that was always on the way up. Afterwards, well, I wouldn't say I crashed and burned, but that video certainly had a big impact on where I ended up on the success ladder. Look, I could write a book on what went wrong, and yes, the video did go horribly wrong. I had a vision for what I wanted, but I couldn't find a director to commit to it." Billy continued, "The effeminate nature of the video alienated a lot of my base, because at that time, many teenage boys looked up to and idolized the artist. It got to the point where other popular artists at the time even spoke on how after the video's release, it was hard to take him seriously anymore." So whether it was Billy's fault for not halting the video in its tracks, Ortega's fault for directing it how he did, or Capitol Records' fault for letting the video be released, or a combination of all three, what happened happened and the damage was done. After the fiasco, Billy took some time off, releasing his next 4 albums throughout the next 8 years. Every album after the music video, he put a notable amount of effort into producing and even had features including Freddie Mercury, but they resulted in commercial flops. He put out his final album with Capitol Records where there was little to no promotion, and the album didn't even chart. So Squier decided to buy himself out of his contract, fire both of his managers, and take a step back from making music and the industry as a whole. Because of this situation, Billy became a bit of a recluse who is not often interviewed, keeps private life private, and openly dislikes the music business due to how he was treated. Years later, MTV put out the earlier mentioned book in 2011 titled I Want My MTV, which was compiled of around 400 people in the industry's input, and they pretty much unanimously agreed that Rock Me Tonight was the worst music video of all time. Through it all, there is still overwhelming love for the star, with loyal fans everywhere, many of which insist that he never made a bad song and needs to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Years after stepping away, Squier did a few memorial tours and shows, independently released his final studio album, and released and performed a song dedicated to his longtime friend and fellow star Freddie Mercury. Nowadays, he lives a peaceful life as an active volunteer for the Central Park Conservancy, which he has done for over 17 years. Unfortunately for Billy, the poor decisions of himself, the director, the label, and even the fans at the time all led to his career going downhill. Alright, now I know what you guys are thinking. Rick Ross obviously still has a career, and I agree. He's put out some dope tracks even recently. But the song I'm going to talk about was like a bullet that grazed his shoulder. It nearly killed his career. And honestly, I'm surprised it didn't kill it. And after you guys watch this section, I'm sure you'll all agree with me. So let's check it out. So Rick Ross is a rapper I'm sure most of us are familiar with. After graduating from high school, Ross decided to try the college route, and ironically, he went for criminal justice. He also got a football scholarship, but decided to drop out of college and pursue another career as a correctional officer. He considered becoming a firefighter, but opted for a position in construction instead, so he could dedicate more free time to making his music. He started out as Teflon Don and began making music and, more importantly, connections with people such as DJ Khaled. In the mid-2000s, he changed his name to Rick Ross, inspired by the notorious drug runner Freeway Rick Ross, and started getting attention in the music industry. Ricky Rose went on a solid run of dropping a bunch of albums, which granted him not only fame, but also accolades like platinum songs and albums, award nominations, and even a Reebok endorsement. Rick Ross got into a bit of controversy for lying about his past, which I actually covered in a video called Rappers Who Fake Their Entire Lifestyles, so feel free to check that one out after this one. But Ricky got into another controversy due to one of his songs, which nearly ruined his career. At the near peak of Rick Ross's career, he decided to jump on the song You Don't Even Know by Rocko with Future. The song performed pretty well, charting decently and spawning a few remixes including big names like Wiz Khalifa, A$AP Rocky, 2 Chainz, Lil Wayne, and more. And all of this sounds pretty good at the surface level, but the controversy stems from Rick Ross's lyrics. In Ross's verse, he drops the crazy line, "Put Molly all in her champagne, she ain't even know it. I took her home and enjoyed that, she ain't even know it." It's honestly surprising that no one around Rick Ross thought to say like, hey man, maybe you shouldn't say that. Especially because it seems like it taints the entire meaning of the song since it's named You Don't Even Know. Funnily enough, directly before the very problematic line, Ross says, "I'll die over these Reeboks, you don't even know it." Well, in the wake of the following poor choice of words, Ross did not have to die over the Reeboks because the deal itself died as a result of Reebok being presented with a petition with 72,000 signatures to get rid of Ross's brand deal. It was going viral online and they had to drop him, which probably cost him a lot of money. Along with losing this deal, due to backlash from the lyrics, Ross put out an apology claiming the lines had nothing to do with date rape, which is a tough sell to almost anyone who can read. He said, "I want to make sure this is clear. That woman is the most precious gift known to man. You understand? It was a misunderstanding with the lyric, a misinterpretation where the term rape wasn't used. I would never use the term. We don't condone rape, and I'm not with that." He also tweeted out trying to get Reebok's forgiveness as well. But it seemed like Ross was kind of trying to move the goalpost because we all know what he meant by that line. What else could he have meant? And the public didn't fully accept his apology, which also led to a show Ross had scheduled at Carleton University being canceled. And his verse was actually removed from the song so it could be played on the radio. There is even a remix of the song with Schoolboy Q where he said, "Molly in her drink, but she asked me to, and oh yeah, I got this on cam." So he even had other rappers making fun of him on the remix of his song. So that's how you know you messed up. The jokes on Ross and his crazy word choice still even come up today. For example, in his ongoing feud with 50 Cent, 50 reposted the lyrics associating Ross with the numerous Puff Daddy sexual misconduct allegations. The effects on Ross's career were not just shown on social media though, because commercially it seems like he took a hit. You could say that his music and popularity were already on the decline, but it's possible that the You Don't Even Know verse aided in his downfall. Before this song, almost everything he released either got gold or platinum certifications. Afterwards, the 6 projects he released got nothing. All of that was about 10 years ago, and while he clearly has not fallen off or had his career ruined, he definitely isn't going as crazy as he used to be. And whether or not you want to associate that with You Don't Even Know is up to you, but I wouldn't be surprised if that played at least the slightest role in his numbers going down. Of course, Ricky still has tons of fans and drops some great verses, but this was a close call that definitely damaged his career, and had it happened recently, things could have gone down a whole lot differently.